Land acknowledgements are often presented in shared spaces where we gather in person. But on a podcast, we recognize that each one of us occupies space on Indigenous land. We call on you, our listeners, to acknowledge that Indigenous people are the original inhabitants and caretakers of this land and have distinctive and sovereign rights and responsibilities that are directly connected to the land, community, culture, and knowledge.
With this in mind, please take time to find out what territory you are on at native-land.ca and support our amazing Indigenous firecrackers like Camille Baudouin. Camille is a writer, director, producer, and will be directing an interactive feature film about unceded land called Inheritance that's coming to you in the fall from Vancouver, Canada. For more information, find Camille on her Instagram at FrenchYC1. I'm Naomi Sneakus.
And I'm Amanda Brugel.
And this is the Blaze Sessions. Amanda Brugel, I sure love seeing you. I also love that every time I see you, you're just a very stylish person.
Thank you. I'll take it. My mom, thank you. Thank you. And I'm trying to get better at taking compliments. My mom is and was super stylish, and she's mid-70s, and she's in her sequins graphic tee era. And I just God bless her. She's getting more and more Vegas as the years go on, and I love it. I think just having a mother who is like really a risk taker, and then a father who is always impeccably dressed it's a good combo. It's a combo for. Yeah, remember my dad? My dad was always dapper.
So stylish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'd be the guy that you want on any kind of like opening night party because he's just so, he'd be like, mysterious too, right? He'd be like, who's that gentleman?
Yeah. Yes.
I know if I looked at my fashion, I'd be like my mom would have flowers in her hair as much as she could. And my father would wear clothes that were barely clothes any longer. Like they were just barely holding on by a thread. He said at one point he was walking down the street and he was like, oh, what's that around my ankles? And his underwear had fallen through because they were just off. So anyway, I'm a fine line between the two. I don't think I go that far, but yeah.
I love it. I love your style.
Thank you. Coming from you, that means so much to me. Listen, I'm excited to have our guest here because it's inspired me to talk to you a little bit about, I know that you just did a theater workshop, and I wanted to hear, but did you freak out about that? Because you haven't done theater. When's the last time you did theater?
23 years.
Yeah.
23 years. I stopped doing it for two reasons. I mean, it was my first love. I went to theater school. I loved it. But I stopped doing it, because at the same time I booked a commercial and I saw how much you make it from a commercial. And then I saw what they gave me for the entire like rehearsal for a week of theater. And it was like $4.25 and a can of peanut butter.
Whoa,
and
you got a can of peanut butter?
I did. And I had student loans, and I wasn't down for that. Also had some weird sexual harassment experiences at the beginning of my theater ventures, and so I walked away from it. I mean, as film and television actors, we you work and you practice and you hone all of your stuff. You don't really get scene partners. You don't get to workshop anything. It takes you. You get maybe an hour to bang it out. If you're in American stuff, if you're in Canadian stuff, you get 2 takes maybe. And you're not really actually practicing or developing your craft. You're a service animal. You say lines and you have to move on because of budget, because of location, because of a lot of things. It doesn't really feel like you get to act for the love of it. And it does in theater. And so dropping this news right now, will return, not this year, but next year in full force. It's also something that I would like to talk to our guest about, because I know that our guest has similarly recently gone into theater. I'm trying not to give it away too quickly.
You're going to give it away. Just get into it. I'm just before you move on.
I'm going to give it away now.
I just want to say how I love so much when I see film actors going to theater actors going to film, and seeing that crossover, because I think it's like there's something really magical, like seeing what you'll do on stage. I love watching you on film, and then seeing what you'll do on stage. I'll be really. Are you freaked out a little bit?
No.
Oh,
Excited. No.
amazing.
No. No. We love this. And to be able
I
to
know,
do
but
it
like,
for,
doesn't anything scare you? Doesn't that like scare you a little bit?
we talked about this, submechanophobia. I don't like man-made things submerged underwater.
Right, right. That's the only thing that scares you. Oh my gosh.
No,
I
more.
really hope there'll
No,
never be
but
a time where I'm like, that's happened, like man-made things underwater. I guess you could come to the cottage and be like, check out that boot underwater.
yeah.
We could
Yeah,
have.
and then you'll see me freak out. Let's go. Let's
Speaking of
get
freaking
to our
out,
guest. I'm
speaking
so
of freaking out,
excited.
I'm freaking out. Go ahead. I'm trying to do better segues.
Through when we first started this and we were curating this list, my list, this person was the second person on my list. Second, because I thought we were just going to start with the actors or performers in some right, and this person is a powerhouse producer, phenomenal person, but also has been a friend for many, many years. So they received an honors degree in film studies at York University. They are a multi-award winning producer of critically acclaimed features and TV series and TV movies, and most recently live theater. We're going to get into that. Her projects include Adventures of a Mathematician, Shades of Black, Shattered City, Prom Queen, The Mark Hall Story, and Maudie. And you remember how much of a phenomenon that was,
Amazing.
starring Sally Hawkins and Ethan Hawke. And I realized in doing research that it collected over 25 awards worldwide,
I
like not just
know.
nominations, it won. It's crazy.
Yeah.
She was the 2019 recipient of Women in Film and Television's Illustrious Crystal Award for creative excellence. She served 3 consecutive terms as the director on the National Board of Canadian Film and Television Producers
What
Association.
hasn't she done?
She's also a dedicated activist, having volunteered for years at Parkdale's High Park's Romero House for Refugees. She actually received the Queen's Jubilee Medal for her work with this nonprofit, and she's a loyal, ferocious, passionate powerhouse, a dedicated mother, and a champion of Canadian stories. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Mary Young
Yeah.
Leckie.
I'm blushing. I am so blushing. Oh my gosh, that was such a cool introduction. I've done all that stuff.
Don't you love it when it's all like
true.
compacted like that? And you're like,
It's
look at all
really
the
interesting
stuff.
hearing it. I was sitting here, I was blushing. I'm like, oh dear, I shouldn't have written all that down in my bio. But yeah, cool. Hey guys, this is so much fun.
Hi.
Thank you
So
so much
happy.
for including me.
Are you kidding me? This is so great because I have loved, before I even met you, I loved you from the work in Maudie. Like I remember seeing Maudie and then looking at the crew and cast list because I was like, I need to know who created this. I needed to know the team. That doesn't often happen. You know, you'll see a show and you'll be like, oh, who played the lead? But I wanted to know the team who created that because it was such a beautiful story. But I'm curious how you two know each other.
Oh, well, Amanda and I met in an audition room where she basically set everybody back on their heels. There was a character that we had created. We had an idea of who that character was. Then Amanda walked into the room. Do you remember what you were wearing?
No, it was probably insane. No, I don't.
It was so amazing. It was like a black and white stripe. I think it was a onesie.
Oh, yes.
Like, for sure. And you just walked in and you came in and you just owned the room. Not only was it exciting, but it was mind-blowing because Kent was my co-creator and showrunner. And after Amanda left, it wasn't like maybe she's got the part. It's like, okay, here's what we're going to do with this character. Okay, this is where she can go and this is what's going to happen. It was just like, oh my God, it was so exciting. So that's how we met. But then we also—
Wait, what was that project?
Huh?
What was the project?
Oh, it was called The Secret Lives of Hockey Wives, M.V.P.
Yes.
The greatest series that only lasted 1.5 seasons. There is a story behind that. However, we then became fast friends because we were on set together every day, day in and day out. And Amanda just kept bringing more and more stuff to the party. I mean, it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
We had, I think it was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life on a show.
Wait, what does that mean?
Of my life.
I want to know what that means. Like because as a producer creator, I always think of people like you as like artistic producers as opposed to—
Yeah, you better, because that's what I am.
Yeah, like, you know, but there are some producers that are like money producers.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's your jam.
No, that's not my jam.
But when you said like Amanda kept bringing things to set, what does that mean? And how does that affect your role as a producer?
I mean, Amanda is never shy about expressing her ideas and opinions, and in a good way. No, in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's something that doesn't make sense to her, she'll tell you. And if it makes sense to me, I can tell her. And then we come to, however, I mean, she would break into song or break into dance in the scene. I mean, it was just like her character, she became her character became her. And so every night when I'd have to go back, and we were commuting back and forth for a while from Hamilton and then eventually living in London, and I'd be on set every day. And then in the car on the drive back, I'd be looking at rushes, and then I'd be going to look at the script for the next show. And whatever Amanda was doing in rushes inevitably inspired what we were going to do with her character in the next script.
Aww.
So it brought, and that's what collaboration is, and that's what television can be. And Amanda, I'm really curious as to your take on, I mean, you've been doing a lot of American stuff, and I get what you're saying. You know, you got maybe an hour with a character on an American show and 2 takes on a Canadian show, but I think we gave you good space on M.V.P. I think there was time.
And I don't, my experience on M.V.P. wasn't the quote unquote Canadian experience at all. I think that's why M.V.P. ruined me from the beginning, because it was such a wonderful experience. It was, there was so much time, there was so much freedom to develop characters. It felt like there was endless amounts of money and space and collaboration. And then I didn't get it again for 12 years, 10 years. And so M.V.P. was an anomaly. I mean, it was an anomaly.
It was an anomaly. And I think, it's interesting because the next time I had that kind of experience was on Maudie. And I do think it shows on the screen. Yeah. I do believe that. It
does.
Yeah, it completely does. It was a different experience on Maudie because M.V.P. we did have a considerable amount of money for a Canadian series.
Yes, you felt it.
Yeah, intentionally, because I knew that if we were going to hit the mark, which we did, to meet the standards of American programming, I needed that. And so that's what I fought for, and that's ultimately what I think took us down, now that I look back on it. However, it was a big, bold show with a huge cast. We had incredible people in the room writing. And season 2 would have been even more amazing because we had even more amazing people in the room writing, and we had Jason Priestley was going to join the cast. We had there was a kidnapping and a murder at the end of season 1, so there was a cliffhanger. It was just there was so many things going forward. When I hear that they're rebooting Night Court, I'm going, why can't I reboot M.V.P? But
that would be great.
Maudie was smaller. Maudie still again. I will not do a show unless it's properly financed. I just won't, because I don't want to come in last. I want to come in first. And I want to come in first because I've worked so damn hard for the story. I've worked so damn hard with the team. I've worked so damn hard to get the right cast. I'm not going to let everybody down. So I'm not a money producer, but I make sure there's enough money. I know how to go out and raise money. I've been raising money privately now for a couple of years in order to develop stuff.
Wow.
Because I don't want to be beholden to numbnuts. I want to have the opportunity to develop something to the point where it's internationally excellent. And then I'll go and I'll take it out to networks or wherever. But Maudie was a different experience. It was intimate.
Really?
Well, when I was pitching,
that house alone, like you can't, right? If you're going to work in this tiny little house.
Bang on. So when I was developing that show, if I got one script note, I got 100 script notes. Nobody wants to look at a show that takes place in a 10 by 12 foot shack with 2 people.
Are you kidding me? Who does that? I mean, that shocks me.
Oh, so I have their names in the back of my book. They're so that I always remember.
You transfer them every time you get to a new book. Keep away from these people.
But yeah, I mean, we had to fit our DOP, our director, our first AD, and our cast in a 10 by 12 foot set.
You didn't have a removable wall or anything like that?
Yes, we built it with walls that flew.
Okay.
However, it was so well built because the Carps really worked hard at their job, and we were outdoors. We didn't build it in a studio, that it would have taken 2 days to remove a wall. So we
Oh
ended
my
up
God.
never taking a wall down because it would have taken too long. But we had a very small crew and and the cast was small because it's a very intimate story. And we all moved out to Newfoundland. There was some people from Ireland because it was a majority Canadian, minority Irish co-production. And we all lived in the same block and we all went to the same.
Oh, stop.
I know, that. Amanda, we have to do a movie together, Amanda. We have to.
I know. That's what part of the M.V.P was so lovely for me. So wait, I have a question about Maudie. You had this wonderful experience on set, and you just mentioned that that you do feel it translates onto the screen, and I truly believe that. So when you were finished and you were watching the movie and it was finally cut, did you anticipate the reaction that it would have, and the fact that it became such a massively successful Canadian film? Like, did you think that you had a hit on your hands? Do you when you do things?
I did with M.V.P, I did with The Arrow, but those were all those were shows that were more bold, and the storylines were more and Maudie's universal. No, I didn't. I knew I had a beautiful film, but I also thought it was a very subtle film, and often subtlety is lost in the noise of, Mandalorian and Maverick and, whatever. And so, and even, even when what was really funny? One of the mandates of Telefilm, one of the requirements of Telefilm, who are one of our major financiers, thank you, Telefilm, is they require you to test it with an audience. So you have to allow money in your budget for that. So we rented out the largest cinema at the Varsity. And it's a random audience. You hire a company to do the test, and they go and they know that it's mainly the crowd that would go to the Varsity. So they give out tickets for a couple of days before to people coming out of the cinema from other movies and invite them in. We filled the house, it was full. And then they have to fill in a card afterwards talking about what they thought of the film. Did you like this character? Did you like that character? Like the story, blah, blah, blah. And then your overall approval. We got a 98% approval rating.
Oh.
And Telefilm wanted to do another test because they thought the test results were skewed.
So did you?
Because it was so good? Because it was not. Oh,
because they didn't believe the test results because they've never had that result before. The day I knew it was a hit, Naomi, was when I got home and I opened the paper and there was a photograph on the front page of the Globe and Mail, and it was a lineup around the block at the Oxford Theatre in Halifax. And
oh my God.
And I went, oh yes, this is gonna work. And the Maritimes love their stories and they are loyal audiences.
They really are.
But when that hits, when somebody says there's lineups around the block, it was boom, 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 boom. We opened every single festival in Canada except TIFF, because they offered us the opening night gala, but we got offered Telluride, which was really important for international.
Yes.
That's where Sony Pictures picked it up. So we got an opening night. We had a special presentation at TIFF, but all the rest of it, anyway, it was a remarkable experience. It was challenging during running up to the Oscar season, which is coming up now. So we're all thinking Oscar. I think Sally and Ethan both deserve a nomination.
Gabrielle Rose. I have to shout out Gabrielle Rose too. I think she's
Gabrielle Rose. I mean, Gabrielle Rose is such an extraordinary woman, and she's so versatile. I love her. I love all my cast. Kari Matchett, Billy. It was just an amazing cast. Zach Bennett. I think he's been in like 8 of my shows since he was this big. And I mean, I go back to actors that I work with as much as I can because they're wonderful people and wonderful. They bring so much.
Yeah. Yeah, you love telling the thing that you're very loyal to the performers that you work with, just both on and like in work and then in our personal lives. You really are. It's very, very distinctly something that you do. But I also noticed, again, in doing research, and I don't think I ever made this correlation, how loyal you are to telling Canadian stories. Real stories, true stories, like Shattered City, Conrad Black, the Mark Hall, like it just M.V.P is sort of real. Maudie, like what is it about? Why are you so loyal to telling Canadian stories?
Who knows? I don't know. It's funny because I look back on my IMDb and I'm struck with the same thing. All I know is that when a story hits me, a friend of mine, Glenn, who you know from M.V.P, says a light bulb, he can see the light bulb go on over my head. And a light bulb has never gone on for an American story. It's never gone on for a British story. I will say that I have a couple of international stories now that people are talking to me about, one in particular about Gloria Steinem, because I feel like there's a whole generation of young women out there that don't know how hard people like
I know
worked to get us all where we are. And now with the whole Roe versus Wade stuff being back in the, we gotta tell those stories. But if it doesn't speak to me, I can't do what has to be done. 13 years.
Yeah.
13, Amanda, to get Maudie done.
Were you with the project for all, like, since the beginning?
Oh yeah, baby. So Shattered City that Amanda mentioned is the story of the Halifax explosion. World War I, 2 ships collided in the harbor. 9,000 people were either killed or injured. I think 2,900 were killed. And my mother was a survivor of the Halifax explosion. If we talk about parents, we're talking about wardrobe. And so mom was a little girl living in Halifax, and she was in Sacred Heart Convent in her class when the explosion happened. And so I grew up with the stories. And if you're doing the math, my mother was also, when she grew up, she became a nurse, and then she signed up for World War II. And then she signed up for combat and went over to England, was in General Hospital. She was with the invasion of Normandy. She was one of the 10 Canadian nurses.
Oh my God.
Of Normandy. And she followed the Canadian troops in a casualty clearing station, which is a MASH unit. So 2 miles behind the front lines, all the way through France and Belgium and Holland and up the Rhine into Germany. So mom, and she came back from the war, and she said all the good men were, she had a good sense of humor, all the good men were either married or dead. So she went back to school and got her public health degree and went and nursed in Cabbagetown, riding around on a bicycle for like 10 years, and then met a widower and got married and had me when she was 47. So
what?
Yeah. Think of it. I mean, it's extraordinary. She had several lives before I was born. So anyway, she told us the story of Shattered City, us being my half brother, because she married a widower with a kid. And and we did the move. We had it, everything was ready to go. We had the miniseries script done. She'd read it. By this time she was in a nursing home and in Toronto, and I knew I was moving to Halifax for 6 months to do the show. And I went up to see her. She'd had a fall and she was in a wheelchair, and I told her that I'd call her every night and not to go anywhere till I got home. And I was out in Halifax in prep, and I got a phone call from my son that she'd had a stroke and that she wasn't going to survive. And it was a week from shooting, and her character's in the show. Her character's the name.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But she'd read the script and she loved it. So she played bridge the night before she had a stroke. I mean, the woman was incredible. And she won.
Of course.
So I came home, and she lived for 3 days, and I cuddled into bed with her and hung out with her until she passed, and then flew back to Halifax. Really, whoa. She was 92, but still. And my friend Glenn, who Amanda, who was camera operator on Shattered City, took me to the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia, and he took me into the Maud Lewis Gallery. He said, I'm going to take you here to stir you up. And I sat in the little gallery, and I looked at that little house, and there was a documentary, a National Film Board documentary that I watched about 3 times. And Glenn said he saw a little light bulb going over my head. And I think my mom and Maudie were hanging out that day saying, this is what.
So do I.
So that's where it started.
Yeah. What's your mom's first name?
Constance.
Wow, what an amazing, I mean, that's a movie into itself. Your mom's.
I know, but nobody wants to do period.
Right. So when you talk, but Mary, I'm wondering, like, when you talk about that light bulb, like, is that something that you feel like is your place as an artist to tell these stories? Like, what is it? Like, can you just feel?
It's excitement. It's almost a physical feeling. It really is. Like,
I can see it in you now. Like, I don't know very many producers that are this jazzed about what their job is. Usually producers are like, okay, it's going to be hard, and I'm going to tell you all the problems. But you're like, no, we got stories to tell.
Yeah, it was, if I'd known it was 13 years, if I'd known how hard it was going to be, but I didn't think about it. And I never, ever wavered in my belief that it was going to be a brilliant story. And I knew from the beginning, Sherry White was the woman to write it. There's just something magical about Maud, and there's something magical about Sherry. And I just could never do it without her. And it's so funny because, Renee Zellweger passed and Reese Witherspoon passed. And there's one other actress that
Rachel McAdams.
Rachel McAdams. And then Aisling came on board, our director, Aisling Walsh, and she said, "What do you think of Sally Hawkins?" And I went,
I love Sally Hawkins so much. Like when I will watch anything she ever does, anytime she could do a commercial for hemorrhoid cream, I'd be like, oh my God, she's brilliant. Yeah.
And so from that point forward, it was like once she said Sally, that was the finish line. I could see the finish line. And then we just had to get Ethan, because all of the distributors said, the international distributors, oh, that's fine, she's fine, but nobody's heard of her. Nobody's heard of Aisling Walsh. We need a star in the role of her.
That's a question I have for you in now starting to try to work on my own stuff. Is that a huge hurdle? Because a lot of people talk to me about that there are, just to get the money and satisfy the money people, do you find that you have to attach someone with a name, attach someone with that are internationally recognized in order to get your project made? Like, is that something that you feel you have to do?
Can I rephrase that? That's something that's something I want to do, because I want
I love that.
In my movies. I don't want to do it. I mean, Dan Aykroyd was in The Arrow. I had Mr. what's his called? Kurt, Star Trek, original guy from Star Trek,
William Shatner.
Kurt Russell.
And William Shatner in Everest. I mean, I've had stars in all of my movies, and it's because I want people to go and see it. And
I love that.
Very rare exceptions, it's because they are exceptional. They are stars.
And you certainly aren't like losing anything by having Ethan Hawke. Geez, like he brings such artistry to what he's doing. I read that he didn't even read the script. He was just like, yep, I'm in.
His wife told him he had to do it. He came home from work. He was doing a play on Broadway, and he came home, and his wife, Riley, she's got thank you credit, was sitting at the table crying, and she said, you have to do this. And he said, oh, okay, I'll read the script. And she said, no, you have to just say you're going to do it, then you can read the script.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he'd always wanted to work with a woman director. That was the first time he'd worked with a female director, and he'd always wanted to work with Sally Hawkins. So it kind of was perfect. It was perfect.
I have to ask you what you learned about yourself in that process. Like, I feel like every project that comes to us is some sort of gift to learn something about what we're also going through. What was the biggest, I'm going to ask the same question for M.V.P, but what was the biggest thing you learned about yourself during Maudie?
It's very challenging to be working with a number of other producers, and not necessarily being given the position of the lead producer, but having to take it. What I had to do was take it, because there were decisions that would be made unless I did that would not have ended up in the film that we ended up with. And I'm not.
Do you have like a specific example on that?
I probably don't off the top of my head, but I can probably give you a general example. If you have somebody who comes to set maybe 3 times during the shoot because they're a producer, and they come to set and they watch the morning's rushes, and they come back to you and say, can't you get her to talk faster? Can't you get her to move faster? Can't you get, and it's like, and they are considerably more, they're considered to be like a powerful person. And you have to turn to, and you say no, and they say, well, I know what I'm doing here. Why aren't you taking my notes? And you just have to smile and stand up to them. I've never liked playing power games. I don't do them well. I'm not good at it, but I'm really good at being stubborn. It could be the Irish. I'm really good at being stubborn, and I'm really good at walking away from confrontation.
Just walking away, like not facing it.
Walk away, because when you think about, you walk away, and you think about, and you think, that person's not going to be able to give direction to the director because she doesn't trust him. That person's not going to be able to give direction to the actors. They don't even know who he is. So I'm just going to walk away. Let him flap his gums in the wind. The other thing I learned, I think, Naomi, was trusting my own instincts in terms of, you know, the cut, the final edit, the results of that test audience, believing in the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie could have been
like
that movie could have been like a very meandery because of the beautiful landscapes, the beautiful painting, but it didn't. It had a pace to it. It was great.
Yeah. Well, we just started telling the story. Stuff hit the floor. A lot of scenes hit the floor.
Yeah.
They weren't telling the main story, including a scene that my daughter was in. Have you ever had to tell your own daughter that she's being cut out of your feature film? That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire career, by far.
Oh, how did Katie take it? How did she take it?
And you know, she's incredible. She's such a strong woman. I bow to that woman. She's incredible. She was, I'm sure inside it was devastating for her. It came between us ever. Well, but we probably both talked about it separately in therapy. You know, to this day, I well up thinking about it. It was the hardest decision I ever had to make.
But that also is a testament to you as a creator, you know, like not to let, like we have these discussions, my husband and I, and I'm sure Aiden and you talk with this, Amanda, about like art being paramount in things. So that when you're talking about things like this, we're not talking about personal things. It's not personal. I'm not saying you're not a good actor. I'm not saying anything. No. It's art. We're trying to put art first.
That leads me to my next question, because I know that you and your lovely husband, Keith is always so nice to me.
He's so cute too, isn't he?
He's so cute.
I love that. And he's so cute too.
Keith is a writer-director, and you have collaborated over the years, you know, a lot together. How in the hell?
Yeah. We all want to know this.
For real though, how? Why? How?
You know why? Because he's super talented, and I don't want to deny myself the ability to work with one of the best writers in the country. How we do really separate church and state. We're really, really good at that. Although I was doing some notes on the script that we're working on together, and we were he was rushing to a deadline, and I said, so we're going to sit down. I've made notes right in the draft, so we'll just go through my notes. And he says, no, just give me your notes, and then I'll go through them. And if I've got questions, I'll ask you, because he can read my terrible handwriting. And then he comes and he goes, ugh? You wrote ugh beside some of my dialogue? I'll think if we'd had a meeting, I would have filtered that.
But how many times does your date turn into a production meeting?
Well, how many times do we need a date because we just talk work all the time? That's the only issue.
How can you not? Like, it's what we love. Like, how could it's our passion, it's our life. Like, of course we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. There's a point at which it becomes really annoying. I mean, it's like
that's a good point.
I mean, we do sometimes have to actually sit down and go, okay, we're going to have a cutoff. Like, we're actually going to try and there's a big storm today when the three of us are talking. There's a ginormous snowstorm heading for Toronto, and we're getting out of town and try and head to the cabin, because that's the one place where we don't. We play cards, we play backgammon. He goes, are we going to dance tonight? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to dance in front of the fire. And we got a hot tub, and we got a bottle of wine waiting, and that's the one place. Although we went up there during COVID for 2 years.
We did too.
Did you?
Yeah, we were up at the cottage for 2 years.
Well, it was wonderful, but we ended up working up there. So that was our sanctuary for a while, but it's back to being our sanctuary again.
Oh, amazing.
I love that as a tip, especially now having a partner and developing things together. I don't have a cabin. You two fancy cabin ladies. Yeah.
I
love
the idea. You can come up to my cabin anytime.
I was just going to say, Amanda, anytime you need to go up and sort of bash stuff out.
But I love the idea of having a separate space, a space that's sort of independent of, like, that's off limits to those discussions. I love,
but it's true.
I'm going to steal that.
The cards, or the, like, what do you do that isn't work? Like, how do you, we end up, like, Matt painted these, like, one time we were like, let's just paint stuff. Let's just put paints out there, and when you said, like, let's dance tonight, like, I think that's exactly right. because otherwise we're always working. I mean, we
always
to
working.
To be fair, it was the husband that said, "Let's dance tonight." He's pretty fun that way.
That's so sweet.
He is. He is. I'm so glad that he's still like that. Oh gosh, I love it.
I want to ask you. Oh, do you have one? I got a burning one. I got a burning question because I feel like.
Okay, you go.
I'll go and then you go. But like, I feel like we're all stepping into places, if you haven't already, into places of being producers. Like your life is a producer, but I feel like we're all sort of like actor, director, producer. So I need some like tips about producing, because I feel like I start producing and I see the application that says budget and I go, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go have a snack. So I would like some advice about new producers and also like baby producers.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. First of all, my math skills were terrible in high school. And then my mom pointed out to me that as soon as I put a dollar sign in front of it, I figured it out.
Right.
And so you can figure out the budget part. That's not hard, it's work. It's kind of like doing grade 10 math, but you got to do it. And I've had to do it. I mean, you said I wasn't a money producer. You're not wrong. I'm not a line producer. I was when I worked my way up in the business. I started driving and transport. But advice for baby producers is find something you really believe in, because it's going to take you a very long time. And also, you've created an amazing network with this organization. So reach out to me, reach out to people that are experienced. I mean, don't hesitate. I have now formed a consulting company with another colleague, Edwina Follows, because so many people were coming to us asking for help and they really wanted us to jump on board as producers. And I want to help and I want to mentor and I want to see the next generation succeed. But I was finding that I was spending so much of my time getting other things going, that we actually got to kind of put our foot down. So we are consulting. I'm consulting on a feature film that's now actually, we've just raised $1 million in the US for it. And that's fun because it's two more, Keith isn't on it, but I'm working with producers Jen Holness and Sud Sutherland, and with they're a couple, and with Laura Barrett Kastner and Jamie Kastner, who are a couple. So I can handle the couple business. I'm just like, I'm an old hand at that. And I started out consulting on that one, and they kept saying, would you consider coming on as a producer if it's going well? And yes, I did. So there
you consulted your way into a role. That's what you did. You were like,
exactly. They paid me to ask to be on the show. Yeah. So I do that work, and it's been really rewarding. But honestly, Naomi, it's believing in what you're doing and don't worry about whether it's too big or not, because if you can see it, you can make it. My first movie was a feature film, and I was 31 years old, and I'd never produced anything before. It was called Where the Spirit Lives, and it won awards all over the world. And it's the first drama that told the residential school story, starring Michelle St.
Keith wrote that.
Keith wrote it, yeah.
And Keith wrote that, yes.
And Buffy St. Marie did the score, and Cynthia Dabowski, Michelle St. John, Shirley Chichu, Graham Greene. I mean, it was an amazing cast. So it's just, you have to believe in it, and it's getting harder and harder to find money.
Yeah.
So if you've got any relatives, start talking to them now about your dreams.
Yeah, you have to be careful not to talk to them about all your dreams. That's all. You got to make sure you're like holding on to the dream that's really important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Is that why with the Mark Hall story, because you produced two movies, like two different not different versions of Prom Queens, you produced the TV movies, and then I know it was called when you mounted it for live theater, The Louder We Get.
So I produced one movie called Prom Queen. Then we developed it as a musical called Prom Queen, but the musical The Prom was coming out on Broadway, so we changed the title to The Louder We Get. So The Louder We Get, if the show, if Wicked wasn't called Wicked, it would be called Defying Gravity. And so the song The Louder We Get is the last song of Act 1 before they come back. Yeah. So it's the, to the Bastions. And it's going to be coming to Toronto. We're going to be announcing it very soon. It's going to be a great big, bold, beautiful LGBTQ2 plus X everything. Huge musical in Toronto in 2024.
Amazing.
That is amazing. My question was, what was that like? Like, especially having so much experience in film and television, to then go into live theater. I can imagine they're quite different.
It's terrifying. It's still
Yeah.
terrifying. It's
Yeah.
one
I
of
mean, it's a
those
whole other money
you-
market too, right? Like you're not
Sorry?
you're dealing with a whole different money market too.
Yeah, there's no money market.
That's what I mean. I
Yeah.
was trying to find a gentler way to say it.
I mean, it's again, you learn as you go, and every television and movie project is a brand new thing too. I remember
True.
I had this lovely meeting with Michael. Well, I worked with Michael Donovan, Salter Street. He was the producer of This Hour is 22 Minutes and Emily of New Moon and all kinds of stuff. And Michael and I worked together on Shattered City. He was my co-producer, and we went out for sushi one day. And I said, you know, what's your secret? Because he had way more money than me. And he said, do a series, because every time you do a movie, it's or a MOW or a play, it's reinventing the wheel. Once you've got a series going, it's on a track.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I did MVP, but it got stopped because an American was making the decisions at CBC. He was an American who'd been given the job of being head of school. And I remember him saying, you know, the Los Angeles Times doesn't cover hockey. Yet when Amanda and I and Kristen Booth and a couple of other, I forget who else was with us, I think the character of Damon,
Dylan Casey,
we had a billboard in Times Square. There was a ginormous billboard right near the Kodak Theater, because these guys were all invited down. My beautiful cast, they did a huge photo spread, and then they were invited down as guests at the Daytime Emmys. I mean, we were on a roll. But that was one of those moments when CBC canceled. SoapNet was the network in the US. SoapNet said, that's fine. We'll find a partner network. We're going to do season 2. My European partner said we're going to do season 2. I got on a plane to fly down to meet with SoapNet, and I went shopping, as one does. Betsy Johnson was having a sale. So I went and I came out with my 2 bags of Betsy Johnson stuff. I was going to have dinner with Jason that night because he was coming on as a new owner of the team. And there was a phone call from Zach saying, Zach was my distributor, saying, did you read Variety this morning? I went, no, I've been shopping. And he said, SoapNet has just sold and it's going to be Disney Junior.
Yes.
And that was that. That was the end.
I mean, you're obviously somebody who rolls with it though, right? Like you can't have,
You got it. That was a hard
yourself
one.
up.
That was a hard one. That was a very hard one. I almost didn't come back from that one. I mean, Amanda's told you.
Really?
It was very personal. It felt very, very personal.
How did you come back then? Because I feel like, we're all our skin is supposed to be thick, but I feel like there's some things that, it gets right to my heart. How do you come back?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, it was really hard. I closed the company down because at that point, the new ownership of CBC were canceling all the Canadian content. I had 2 miniseries in development. I had M.V.P in production. They shut everything down. So I had an office with a staff of 15 and a $75,000 a month overhead, and I shut it all down. And I moved to a home office. So home offices are not new for me. And I had to reinvent myself. And it was a big blow because I was seeing other companies, there's some brilliant producers around. I watched Christina Jennings take a little kernel and turn it into a big, big thing. But Christina's a different kind of producer than me. She's very business focused and she really understands how to build a business, and she's brilliant at that. But I've always been a passion project kind of girl. And that's not necessarily the best way to go, but it's the only way to go that I know. So it was hard. It was really hard. That was the first time I was ever in therapy. It was the first time I ever really questioned. It was a lot of sleepless nights. It was a lot of wondering what I had done wrong, like questioning myself. And it took a long time to go back upstairs and be at the 30,000-foot view and realize that it was circumstances. Because I had done nothing wrong with that show. It was perfect.
Yeah. I love the idea. Thank you for the transparency in that. I love the idea, and this is for all of our listeners to be able to know that in every facet of this job, you get your heart broken, and I guess I quit the business for 4 years. There's a lot of things that happened, and it was after MVP, partly because I had the wonderful experience and I wasn't finding the same thing. But I love just being transparent about the fact that it does take a minute to pick ourselves up.
Yeah.
Like you can get back up and all of the sayings and get back on the horse, but sometimes, Jesus Christ, it takes me a minute to, my back's broken. It's going to take me a bit to get on the horse.
Yeah,
So
please
I
don't
thank
think
you for that.
don't think that we're like the unsinkable Molly Browns, and don't put that on ourselves, because if we do, we're just going to get worse. You're not going to get well. You're not going to get past it. You're not going to figure it out. You have to step away. You have to forgive, and you have to forgive a lot. Even that dickwad at CBC who was making.
I know who you're talking about too.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. There's dickwads everywhere.
There's dickwads everywhere. But
Let me
that
ask you,
a major dickwad.
I have a question for both of you then. Like, if there's one little thing, like, and this isn't talking just in our careers, because what Amanda just said is really, I think, apropos, is that apropos, who do I think I am? Anyway, but I think like disappointments. Thank you so much. Merci. I think it's across the board. Like, people have disappointments, and you think of like producers being like the people that are the gatekeepers, but I'm like, they deal with it too. Casting directors deal with disappointments too. So what's like one thing, like one step that you can do that takes you out of that despair? I'll say for me, like, it's doing some sort of like non-work. Like a artistic, like painting, or like doing something that is taking me outside of like the industry and doing something that is adjacent. What's something for you two that helps you get out of it?
Does it count that I sang in 150 Voice Rock and Roll Choir for 6 years that I joined after it crashed, and I sang on the stage at Carnegie Hall?
Shut your face. Tell me everything. What are you talking about? You joined a choir?
I was going to bring that up. Yes, I was going to bring that up. You ruined it. Okay. Sorry.
Tell me. And then we'll get yours, Amanda.
150 person rock and roll choir called New Choir. We've backed up Julie Black, Hawksley Workman, Dave Bedini, you name it. We backed them up. Hawksley Workman and Sarah Slean were so fun. And now Sarah Slean's a girlfriend, and she's composing the score for my next musical.
No way.
Is she?
Yeah.
I was the biggest fan of Sarah Slean. We competed against one another in the Sears Drama Festival all the way through high school, and we would go back and forth winning awards. She was the one to beat all the time. And then she would win one year and I would win one year. And I've known her since we were 15, competing in the Sears Drama Festival. Love Sarah Slean. Yes.
Well, she's
great. I'm so glad.
She's living back in the hood. She's in Brooklyn.
I know she is. Oh, I'm so glad that you're connected. But can you tell Naomi a little bit about the experience of just what the choir would do? Just give an idea of what you would sing, what you would do, because it was really cool.
Did you see it, Amanda?
Well, I mean, we sang everything from everything from Stevie Nicks to Sting. We had choreography. The first we did Gaga. We all had choreography. There are small groups, so you might like the full choir sings. But then when we did Kerner Hall every year, and we would be backing up a singer at Kerner Hall. We rehearse once a week. You have to memorize and be completely off book with 10 to 15 songs. I sing alto. And during COVID, when the choir shut down, I was living at the cottage. I found this amazing woman, Jennifer Harding, who's from Buckhorn, Ontario originally, but was living in London, England.
I know Buckhorn.
Years. Well, and Jennifer was in the West End, and during COVID, she started giving singing lessons, and her father constructed this shield that was made out of coat racks with plexiglass, and she got a room at the Buckhorn Community Center. And so during COVID, I took private singing lessons, and I learned how to belt. I'd never belted before.
Oh, I love that gosh.
So much.
I love that. Your life.
That is
I don't know how you have time to. I don't know how you have time to do all of the things that you do. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's too much. We're going to run out of time.
Wait, Amanda, before we go,
I was worried I wouldn't know what to talk about.
We could talk all day, but Amanda, I want to know.
Well, you're not done yet. You're not done.
Okay.
Before we jump into this segment, can you tell me what your thing is that you jump in to get out of your
undoubtedly hiking. It's part of the reason why, like moving from Los Angeles, because we lived there on and off for a long time. It was I could just go anywhere and hike, and something happens to me. I'm by myself. I sing, so maybe singing as well. And I'm not a singer, so it's the one place I can exercise and then scream ridiculous music out loud, and it makes me feel like an artist. It makes me feel like I did in high school doing silly Italian runs of like farce plays, and I just
Love it.
it makes me feel the closest to my art and the most free, and it reminds me of why I do it. It's just an instant reminder.
I
Yeah,
think there's like a
that's it.
connector of singing. I think like we should make a pact right now that three of
Yeah,
us should go to choir sometime.
Oh, that would be fun. I'd love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we'll do that.
that would
I
be
know.
fun. So much fun. All right, so this next segment, Naomi, do you want to break it down for Mary?
Yeah,
It's pretty serious, this segment.
Uh-oh.
we have a thing called 10 blazing questions, and it's really, that's all there is to it. Here we go. We're going to ask you a bunch of questions, and you can't be wrong. That's the
Okay.
greatest thing about it. What's your favorite word?
Happiness.
Oh, who would you love to work with?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Nice.
Oh, nice. 3 words to describe your life right now.
Busy, exciting, and scary.
Ooh, I
I'm
like
so
that.
yeah, I'm excited about the scary part. Go on, Amanda.
Me too. One thing that turns you on creatively.
Music.
Yes. One thing
Yeah,
that makes you feel
yeah.
powerful.
Music.
Oh, I like that. Now, do you ever Google yourself? Yes or no? Be honest.
No.
No, the first no.
What's the best advice you ever got?
If a guy can do it, you can do it, from my dad.
Yes,
Nice.
yes. Speaking of music, what is one song that moves you? Like your go-to song?
The Louder We Get, from my musical.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Nice. If you believe in
And if it was the
reincarnation.
second one, it would be Defying Gravity from another musical. Sorry, Naomi.
No, I'll take two. If you believe in reincarnation, what do you think you could be reincarnated as?
A chickadee.
Oh,
No.
love it.
So, also song, their song. Finally, other than loved ones and family and friends, what would you give it all up for?
I wouldn't.
I know, I love that.
Me neither.
I love that. You're such a badass.
One of the things
Yeah.
we like also to wrap it up is to like, we're all like grabbing people that we want to shine a light on. So somebody in your life that's a female non-binary artist that you want to raise up a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Evan Kinane.
Oh,
They play Mark Hall in The Louder We Get.
lovely.
Unbelievably talented, beautiful human being, gorgeous dancer, gorgeous singer, beautiful soul, one of the nicest human beings on the planet. And
Nice.
That's
unbelievably
fantastic.
talented. And hopefully you'll all get to meet them in Toronto.
Awesome. Amanda,
It's
do you have
so
somebody?
great. I do. This week, I have Julie Black. Have I mentioned Julie Black before? Simply because Julie, as you know, sang the national anthem at the NBA All-Star game and changed some of the lyrics. I feel it's my personal opinion, but I feel appropriately. Just modernized them. She consulted with a lot of Indigenous groups. She didn't just go and do it herself. And I thought it was beautiful, but has sort of received, a significant amount of pushback, as one would when they're altering an anthem that is supposed to belong to an entire nation. I think it was brave and bold, and she's an ally and courageous and cool. So shout out Julie Black for that move.
I'll say mine is Stephanie Morgenstern. Stephanie, I've been just
Oh,
met
yeah.
recently, and I just think she's incredible. Like she's part of, I mean, she's Flashpoint producing, but also writing
Mhm.
on Transplant, and so many more amazing. Like when you talk about collaboration, Mary, like it's those kind of ensemble work that I'm so jazzed about. But she's also like taking class, and she's also writing again with her partner. Look at all these partnerships.
She's also a beautiful actor.
She's a beautiful
She
actor.
is.
Like I
Yeah.
just audited a class that
Yeah.
she is in, and I watched her act, and I'm like, she's stunning. Like I just she's curious. I love the curiosity behind her. Yeah.
Love it. Well,
This is
Mary,
such a
thank you so
treat.
much for giving us your time.
What
I
fun.
know
Oh my gosh.
you, and also we didn't even get to the things you are developing, and I know you're so busy, and I admire you so much, and I really have modeled myself to be like you. Like I hope I am as respected and as kind and grounded as you are, once I've received my Queen's Jubilee
I love you,
medal.
Amanda. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, Naomi. It's so fun to get to know
So
you.
fun.
Lovely.
So good that my
It's
head
so,
explodes.
I feel like it's so difficult afterwards as well, because I feel like you didn't even scratch the surface. This is
I
the
know.
problem with having people that are so accomplished, that I'm like, wait, but there's also, remember when you were president? And then can we talk about when you flew the time capsule? Like
You
it's
like
just,
you got the Queen's Jubilee in there. Just Queen's Jubilee. Like right at the end there.
did it twice.
Yeah.
Nailed it twice. Brought it at the beginning, closed it at the end.
Atta girl.
I don't even, one thing that you learned.
Oh gosh. You know what? I mean, so much. I mean, just you know what? There's an essence of her passion that I'm really holding on to right now. Like I don't see that a lot in producers. I see producers being tired and beaten down, and she looks like she's really jazzed. And the fact that she's also producing like theater and things like that. So I mean that, but also reaching out to your community when she said that, like look at the community and look at the people around you to help you.
An ass. Yeah. I learned that to give yourself grace when you fall down, sort of to have patience with yourself, and that also to what I learned from this and what I heard from this. She spoke about M.V.P a lot, and I loved the idea of being able to say out loud when you did get hurt. And it didn't stop her, obviously. I mean, Maudie was after her when that was massive, but sort of not denying it. I think I have a tendency to brush things off of like, they're fine, I'm a woman of steel, nothing hurts me, everything's perfect, I'm not afraid of anything. I just did it at the beginning. And I love the idea of making more space for when you're scared or hurt, because I just feel like if you fight it, it'll be harder to get back up. I loved it.
Yeah, it makes it all real too, right? When she was saying like that really, when M.V.P got canceled, it really hurt her. And I was like, yeah, you don't think about, I don't know, I think producers are such gatekeepers that they're infallible. And so when she said like that personally really hurt because she'd invested so much of her heart into it, it really echoes for me.
And it was ahead of its time. Like the photo shoots that we did for it were like Vanity Fair-esque, and it was just, you never saw at this was at the height of like corner gas. And not that those don't have a place, but it was just very polished and slick and poppy, and it was just too ahead of its time. It was very Gossip Girl in Canada, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Well,
always a pleasure, my friend. Oh, wait, don't forget. Hey, we forgot to do the wrap up. Hey, don't forget, firecrackerdepartment.com for all your firecracker department needs, and hashtag the Blaze Sessions, and then follow us to find out everything you need to know. That's how that works.
We're not gonna get here.
We're never gonna do this again. It's a wonder. It's a wonder we're here at all. Bye, Amanda Brugel. I love you so much.
Bye.
The Blaze Session is hosted and produced by myself, Naomi Sneakus, and Amanda Brugel. Jennifer Morose is our consulting producer and cheerleader extraordinaire. Pal Carranza is our communications manager and content creator, with support from Chelsea McKenzie and Morgan Walker. Original graphics by Vicky Breyer-Breer and Becca Buddygay. Anna Marodin is our firecracker of all trades, with doing our YouTube artistic management, our newsletter, and also content creation. Jennifer Rowley is our amazing sound designer and basically editing wizard. Rebecca Gismani does our show notes and additional writing. Sedna Fiati does our outreach and consultation management. Srishti Jaiswal is our video editor. Music by Sophia Canali and Arthur Kaplan. Big thanks to the entire Firecracker Department Actioneer team that keep this community going. That's Veronica Martin, Anita McFarlane, Pau Carranza, and Liesl Lafferty. For more information about the Blaze sessions or the programs, workshops, panels that are offered through the Firecracker Department, go to firecrackerdepartment.com and follow us at FirecrackerDEPT on all your platforms. If you enjoyed our episode today, leave a comment or maybe something one of our guests said really sparked some inspiration. We'll share this episode with a friend. And if you didn't like the episode, you know what? Just keep it to yourself. No one likes a complainer. Now go on out there, take some creative action, and then share it with the Firecracker Department community. We'd love to hear what you're working on. Bye for now.
Hello, my name is Liesl Lafferty. I am the head of the Firecracker Writing Department. Thanks for listening to the Blaze Sessions.